Well, hello. Okay. So we left off yesterday or whatever day it was with the end of the Republic and the creation of the Empire of Rome. Okay. We now have Augustus as our emperor, the first emperor of Rome. Guys, just a little side note. I don't know if I said this in the last video. Don't make the mistake of calling Julius Caesar an emperor. He's not an emperor. Um, he's a dictator. He was a military leader. He was a consul for a while, but he was not an emperor. Okay. That being said, after the whole second triumvirate falls apart and Octavian, Julius Caesar's adopted son, but really his nephew, takes over and he declares, I'm emperor, and that's it. That means he's a king, but he also needs to take over land, right? And his succession is going to be determined by him. That means either his son is going to be the next ruler or he can pick who the next I'm messing with this mic. Who the next ruler is going to be, okay? That being said, we enter into a period of Rome called the Pax Romana. Pax means peace. In Latin, pax means peace. Okay? Romana means Rome. This is the period of Roman peace. And it lasts, depending on which historian you're talking to, anywhere from about 100 to close to 200 years. Okay, listen. This does not mean that Rome is completely at peace and there's no wars. Oh, there's wars. There's still a ton of wars. And Rome is still continuing to run around and conquer all kinds of stuff. What the Pax Romana is it is relative peace in the city of Rome. We don't have massive upheaval like we had during the first triumvirate and the second triumvirate and the overthrow and just all this drama and Caesar. We don't see that. Okay. We don't see senators, people in the government fighting each other like we saw with Pompey and Caesar. We're even Mark Antony and Octavian. We're not seeing that anymore. There's relative peace in Rome itself. Not there's no war. Oh, there's war. Okay. This is also going to be a time when I just messed up. Augustus, as is his new name, when Augustus decides, you know what? We need to beautify the city of Rome. We need to make it pretty. We need to create roads and aqueducts and cool buildings. And we need to make it look like the eternal city that it is. Look, this is Augustus, remember? I skipped some of the expansion of Rome while I was dealing with the whole drama of destroying the Republic, just because. Okay. So let's back up for a second. The last time you saw a Roman map, none of this blue was here. The last time you saw this picture, we had this stuff that was red, Greece and Italy. That was what they got in their first early campaigns. Then you saw all of this, which was green. That's everything they got from the Punic Wars, remember? And then you had all of this stuff, which up here, Gaul, Julius Caesar specifically conquered this up here. And then all of this was kind of being taken at the same time. Okay. Well, there were still other things being taken during all of that first triumvirate, Pompey versus Crassus versus Caesar drama, as well as there were things being taken over here during the second triumvirate when Lepidus and Octavian, yes, Octavian this time, and Mark Antony were in charge. That's where this stuff is coming from. Okay. So this new stuff has been taken in all that crazy drama that we just dealt with for the last like 2 days. Okay. You had Pompey and Crassus over here. You also had Lepidus during the second triumvirate, and Octavian was actually when he was doing his military service, because remember they have to have 10 years if they want to be in the government. When he was doing his time, like in the military, he was also over here. This right here is Hittite land. Do you remember the Hittites from Mesopotamia? They're the ones who had the iron ore, and they're the ones who had like the really, really, really heavy armor, right? They're also the ones who conquered Babylon. They're the ones who get their butts kicked by Assyria. So Hittite land. That's what this is. All right. Rome now owns it. This down here is Egypt. Well, when did Rome take that? Oh, I don't know. When Mark Antony and Hatshepsut, did I say Hatshepsut? Oh my gosh. When Mark Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide? Yeah. Octavian took it. And he said, Egypt is now Roman. And since I'm all that's left of the triumvirate, I just conquered something, which makes me an emperor. And then that's when he declares himself Emperor Augustus and all that drama. Okay. So this right here is now what Rome, the empire, looks like. Isn't this weird to you? I mean, it's weird to me as a historian. Why is this not being conquered? Especially look at the land. You got a massive set of rivers right there. If we've been having food shortages, which we were having, why not conquer that land and use it for fertile land to feed our people? Well, they kind of were. We're going to get into the Germanic tribes more. So just hang on, okay? But the Germanic peoples, not Germans like we think of today, the Germanic peoples as a whole group are like hundreds of tribes that live up here. Okay. Some of these peoples, the Celts, you've heard probably. It's not Celt. Oh, that drives me crazy. Celt. The Gaelic peoples, you've heard of Angles and Saxons, although you don't know you have. You have heard of, I don't know, a little group of people called the Norse. In America, we call them the Vikings. These are Germanic peoples. They're not Germans. Germanic peoples. But they're a tribal group of people that just live up here. Okay. And most of the time, they had a warrior culture. Well, not the group that lives here. They will, but right now they're more farmer. They're a group that came from up here and they migrated down and ended up settling here. They're called the Goths, Goths, the Goths. It's a Germanic tribe. Eventually, the Goths will split into two separate groups. You'll have the Ostrogoths in the east who stay over here, and the Visigoths who go to the west. Okay. But right now, they're just one huge clump of Germanic tribal farmer peoples called the Goths. And at first, relations between the Goths and the Romans are okay. I'm not willing to say good, but they're okay. Here's the deal. If the Goths will help produce food for the Romans will leave them alone. Well, this produces way more food than the Goths need. So at first, the Goths are like, sold, we're in. But again, even though the Goths are farmers, they also have that warrior culture in the back of them, like in their heads. And the Romans need help fighting other Germanic barbarians, other tribes up here. And they think the Goths can help them. So we're going to have a new kind of, I don't know, a change, I guess, over a couple hundred years in the original agreement. The original agreement was produce food for us because you don't need all this and we'll leave you alone. That's why you have this big thing that isn't conquered by Rome yet. That's so weird. What's going to happen, though, slowly, again, over a couple hundred years, the terms change, the terms of the agreement. And the agreement looks a little more like this. Provide us all the food we need, not just extra that you don't need, all the food we need. You have to be part of our military and fight with us against your own Germanic peoples, or we'll conquer you and take you. And if they don't, then the Romans are going to send legions to make sure they do. So are we eventually going to have the Goths get mad? Yeah. It's coming. Not yet, but it's coming. But that's kind of what's going on at this time. Okay. The Goths are producing food. And at this time, they're starting that idea that that agreement is starting to change a little bit. And the Goths are starting to go help the Romans fight the Germanic peoples up north. All Hades will break loose, just not yet. Okay. So that's why you've got this big white part here that you're like, why isn't Rome conquering that? That's why. Okay. Meanwhile, during the Pax Romana, we are going to get more land added. Oh, shoot. You're like, what? What just happened here? And this actually happens a little after the Pax Romana, but it just makes sense to talk about it now. You will have during this whole time period, eventually, this will get taken here, Palestine. This is where the Jews are. Okay. This right here is what we call Phoenicia up here. Remember the Phoenicians? They traded the purple dye and they traded, they had the papyrus and then they had that Phoenician alphabet. And then down here, these are the Hebrews. Remember? Okay. Now it's Roman. You also notice the Goths. Now, this is a little bit after, like I said, it's a little bit after the Pax Romana. But again, it makes sense to talk about it here. I think it's closer. I'd have to double check the dates. I don't remember. But I think it's closer to like the 300s or something. But regardless, the Goths will get taken. Okay? And that's a breach in the agreement that was made hundreds of years ago. All Hades is going to break loose, sweet angels. I promise. Just not yet. You also have this river here, the Danube. Okay. The Danube is kind of going to be the northern Roman border, for lack of a better term. And basically, right now, you'll have a lot of the Germanic tribal peoples up here, and then Rome down here. You'll also see the Romans come up the Rhine River, and then they will spill into Britannia, Britain. Actually, I believe Caesar went into Britain, I think. I'd have to double check that. I don't remember for sure. But it wasn't actually like taken until later. And they're going to stop roughly right about here. Kind of the divide between like modern day Scotland and England. They're going to stop right here because the tribal peoples up here were crazy scary to the Romans. I think they're cool. The biggest of the tribes up there is called the Picts, Picts. There's a lot of different tribes, okay? But the biggest one up there is the Picts, and of course the Scots. But they were really scary to the Romans. Like they fought naked. I think it's cool. But the Romans are like, they painted themselves. I don't know what the paint was, but they painted themselves with like blue, and sometimes they would have like animal blood across their face and stuff. They were just scary to the Romans. To the Romans, they were also giants. They're not giants. They're like 6 foot when the Romans on average are like 5'5" or whatever. Okay. But that's why you're going to see this very abrupt bloop right there, because the Romans are like, yeah, we're not going to go past that. And there's actually, they build a wall. Let me show you. It's called Hadrian's Wall. Emperor Hadrian was his name. There's a pretty good chunk of it still left today. It's not like, I mean, it is in some places falling apart, but look, I mean, it's really quite beautiful still today. And that's built by the Romans to be like, okay, everything south is ours, and you scary people get everything up north. So yeah, it's still quite beautiful, quite well preserved. Yeah. So anyway, ooh, my camera screen just got really big. Sorry. Okay, so oh, there it is. So we have this expansion occurring. We also have, as I told you, this beautification occurring as well. I don't like my camera. Ah! Well, my camera just left. All right, that's okay. You don't need to see my face. We also have this beautification of Rome happening at the same time during the Pax Romana. Um, this is probably one of the most famous, iconic Roman buildings that there is. But what's crazy is it's relatively late, like built relatively late in Roman history. It's the Colosseum, of course. It didn't used to look like this. It used to be complete. It used to look like this. Okay, where it went like all the way around. This obviously is what it looks like today. I read what happened here. Did I read earthquake? I don't know. I could be wrong. I read one time why it broke off, but I don't remember. So see, if you just leave your house for like 2,000 years, that's what'll happen to it. This kind of shows you a cross section of it where you could have like all these people and you could have whatever down there. I'll explain a little more about that in a minute. And then look back here. This is so cool. It looks just like if you go to a concert venue today, or a football game, or I don't know, whatever. It looks just like that. Like they probably had like the hot dog man right here and the, I don't know, the pretzel guy back here. Like I just think it's so cool. Y'all, historical peoples are just like us. Their toys just aren't as modern. That's it. As you have heard, the Colosseum is where they did like gladiatorial games and fights and public like killings of groups of people and all that good fun stuff. But it's not just that. Okay, it's not just for fighting and for, animals to rip you to pieces and public executions and all that. Um, it was also like people would gather here and recreate past victories. So like today you would go to, I don't know, a Civil War Gettysburg thing where they're like recreating the Battle of Gettysburg. Well, they would do the same thing here, like on their big holidays and their big remembrance days and stuff like that. And you would have people like recreate the Punic Wars and battles, and you'd have like parades. So it's not just gladiatorial games. Okay, it's other stuff as well. Underneath here is where, like, yes, gladiatorial slaves and stuff would be kept under here. Not like kept, but like what we would think of as like modern day like locker room type stuff down here. You would also have the cages, that's an elephant, for animals and all that kind of good stuff underneath. So it's kind of cool. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. This shows you what's again pictures of like what it is today. Kind of sad that it's in ruin, but it's really cool that we still have it. This right here shows really well what the underneath looked like where animal cages were and where I don't know, again, for lack of a better word, what the locker rooms would be like, that kind of thing. Oh man, I hit the X. I wasn't thinking. Well, that's okay because that's the last one I needed to go to. So we have this time. Here we go. The Pax Romana. So we have this time. Oh, and I talked about this too, y'all. Where Rome is beautifying. They're making better streets, better buildings, all kinds of good stuff. So, what is it like to live in Rome? Historical peoples are just like us, y'all. It's not that different. You look at this right here and you're like, yeah, it is. The dominant male. I know half of my girls just had a heart attack. They're like, oh, I don't think so. Okay, listen, I'm a girl, so I understand your pain, but through all of history, that's a lie. Through most of history, girls, this should not be a surprise to you. Yeah, the man of the house is in charge. Um, in Rome, though, it may not always be the father. In Rome, it could be a brother, it could be an uncle, it could be a son. You're like, what? This term right here, pater familias, it doesn't actually mean like father, even though we do think of the word pater meaning father. It actually means dominant male, the man in charge. If the man of the house, the father of the family, is, I don't know, old or I can't think, crippled, or has, I don't know, dementia or some kind of issue, and he can't actually like make the decisions, then he's not the paterfamilias. It could be his 16-year-old son. The paterfamilias is whoever the male is making the decisions in the family. Okay? It's not always the father. It's just the person making the decisions. Girls, should not surprise you. You are good for babies, housework, taking care of the man, all that good stuff. However, in Rome, something new. Ooh, girls, you have some rights. Don't get overly excited. Okay. As you see here, the women are still lower than the men. Duh, no surprise there. They can own land. Um, they can't buy land. A woman couldn't buy Roman land. She could only become the owner of land in an inheritance situation. If my father gives me his land when he dies, I can own the land, but I'm not allowed to buy it. Could my father give me his land if I have an older brother? Yes. Yes, he could. Um, is it going to be hard for me to hold on to that land? Yes. But he could make me the owner of land. Okay. Women, as you see here, could also choose to divorce their husbands in a very specific situation. The woman could only divorce her husband. See, the man can divorce his wife at the drop of a hat. You have a gray hair. I want a divorce. Okay, whatever in Rome. But the woman can only divorce her husband in Rome if he's having an affair and is caught in the act. That's a little interesting. Caught in the act. Okay. So unless you take the judges, the praetors with you, are they going to believe you, ladies, if you say your man was caught in the act? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But at least the right is there for you to be able to do it. Okay, it's a step in the right direction. As far as slaves, slavery is not anything new when America starts it. Okay. Slaves in Rome are weird though. In fact, slaves in Rome, the last time we talked about slaves, it was sorry, it was with Athens and Sparta. And I told you that Athens had more slaves than anybody else up to that point. Yeah, not anymore. Rome just blew them out of the water. Rome's slaves, it's massive. But see, it's weird in Rome. Slaves aren't necessarily born slaves. My parents could be slaves, but that doesn't mean I am. I could be a slave, and then I could get my freedom, and then I could become a slave again. A lot of the time in Rome, what we see as slaves, it's more like indentured servitude. You should have talked about that in the 8th grade. It's more like, okay, I have a debt and I couldn't pay for it, so I'm willing to work for you for free to pay off my debt. There is a lot. In fact, when I was in my Roman class in college, one of the essays I had to write on the test was something to the effect of, was slavery in Rome true slavery? And that's a question. Some historians say, yeah, if they're working off a debt, that's not slavery. Other historians say, yeah, it is, because they had to do whatever the quote unquote master told them to do. That's up to you. If you think it's slavery, cool. If not, whatever. But I will say the most famous of the slaves are the gladiators, warriors. Okay, if you've seen the movie Gladiator, great. It's not accurate. All right. Um, were there some gladiators who were famous? Yeah. The majority of them were just slaves whose purpose was to die. If I have a gladiator who's winning every single fight that he's fighting in, that's not good for me. The Romans want to see blood. So if he's not bleeding, I'm not making as much money. I want the gladiators to die. That sounds so weird to us, but the more blood, the better. Okay. So don't romanticize, don't glorify the gladiators too much. Alrighty. As far as religion, the Greek religion of mythology, that's the Roman religion. Okay, we just call it Roman mythology. It's basically the same stories. Zeus is still Zeus, except he has a new name, Jupiter. Zeus's, I can't think, son, Ares, the god of war. Well, he has a new name. It's Mars. Let's see. I can't think of any of them. Oh, Aphrodite, goddess of love, beauty, sex in Greece. Well, now she's Venus. Are, are you starting to notice something? Huh. It's just Greek mythology. It spreads to Rome, but they have Latin names, Roman names, not Greek names. Okie dokie? All right. Next video, we have a whole new religion about to take place and cause all kinds of drama in Rome. Okie dokie? That's it.